Hello everyone, and welcome to this Doctor Who Series 10 review. Today I'll be looking at the pilot, the season opener which aired just yesterday. I've watched it twice so far and have basically just put together some quick notes and first thoughts and impressions, and had a bit of a think about it all as well to make this review. So without further ado, here's what I thought of the pilot. So to cut a long story short, I thought the pilot was a very strong episode, a very good introduction to Bill, and to Doctor Who as a show as well, a kind of reintroduction or soft reboot pilot style episode. Going into more detail, let's start with the Doctor, played magnificently as always by Peter Capaldi. Well, what can I say, another incredible performance. One other thing that occurred to me this time round was that in the pilot, he's very First Doctor-like at times, i.e. kind of less human and an older teacher-like figure in relation to Bill. He's definitely a lot more off guard and stripped back without Clara around. A lot more kind of detached and alien. He also keeps secrets like the First Doctor. For example, the underground vault is the big one, and the whole thing about him having a mission on Earth is just very similar really to the First Doctor and Susan's predicament when they were on Earth at Coal Hill, right back in the first episode of Doctor Who. And of course, as this story is a sort of pilot reboot style episode, it fits the theme very nicely to have links back to the very first episode of Doctor Who and the pilot of An Unearthly Child as well, to have that link there with all these connections with the First Doctor and having a mission on Earth. It's a nice touch. I think my favourite Doctor moment was at the end, when he gave in and offered Bill a trip in the TARDIS. And I thought it was particularly nice how the decision was kind of subtly influenced by Clara, with that magnificent theme in the background, the little nod to the past. And Capaldi was great, as angry, triggered, if you like, 12, saying, get out, and you can keep your memories, but get away from me. And I love how this parallels as well with An Unearthly Child. The Doctor effectively decides to take Bill with him to keep his secrets safe. I mean, I know she goes willingly, I know he kind of changes his mind a little bit, but in essence, he's taking her with him to keep his secrets safe about this whole mysterious mission that he's got on Earth with the Vault, and no doubt that's going to be brought up again later in the series and developed, and probably end up as the story arc or something in the finale. So Bill. Bill isn't the type of companion that naturally appeals to me, I must say. She's not the kind of companion that you'd expect to be my favourite or one that I like, but nevertheless, I do love Pearl Mackie's portrayal of the character. She feels very fresh and down to earth. I got lots of Rose and Donna vibes while I was watching, particularly at the end when she goes, I know what a mind probe is. That was exactly like Donna. And then of course how she's working class, she's got a job, and she's uneducated but bright. That is again a massive parallel with Rose, so lots of vibes from old RTD era companions really, which is good in a way because they were always a lot more grounded I think than Stephen Moffat's companions. Not that I don't like Amy and Rory and Clara and all the rest of them, but I think that's what the show needed really, to have another grounded, down-to-earth companion that the audience could really relate to. I mean really, she's as far from Clara as you can possibly get, in just about every way possible, and she's all the more brilliant for it, and she works so well because of it. I also really appreciate how the whole episode was seen from her perspective, and the plot was basically all based around her. And I'll talk about this in more detail later on, but yeah, a very wise move to have Bill so central to the story, I think. And I can't wait to see what she does next and where the character goes. It's hugely exciting to have a new companion again for the first time in 5 years. Next up, Nardole. Well, Matt Lucas was fantastic, as always, as Nardole. There were some genuinely laugh-out-loud moments, in my opinion, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of him and seeing how he develops throughout Series 10. His role as a valet/butler to the Doctor is just so different to what we've seen before. I can't really believe that we've not had such a strong comic presence in the show, in the companion TARDIS team lineup. I mean, if you think about if Nardole had been added into Series 9 with the Doctor and Clara, it would have completely altered the tone. And it's weird thinking about it like that, because looking back now, it looks like all the previous seasons have been lacking quite a bit of this humour and comedy that Nardole brings to the show. But yeah, it's a very welcome move in my opinion. I absolutely love him. He's great. And it's great to see him, like the Doctor, keeping secrets seemingly, and not letting on as much as he really knows. And hopefully as the series goes on, we're going to discover more about Nardole, how he was reassembled, and all that stuff about him having a shifty past, and what that's got to do with everything, really. Well, as I've already mentioned, it was great to see a plot based around the new companion, Bill Potts. I also really welcomed the theme of unrequited love, one that, come to think of it, if you look at it in hindsight, it's not really come up too much in Doctor Who before. I don't think we've seen many characters experience unrequited love. Obviously, it's such a universal concept. I expect every viewer watching would have been able to relate to Bill's love for Heather, not directly, but because everybody experiences unrequited desire and love. And I'm not really sure here is the place to be deep and philosophical, but unrequited love is no good. In reality, it just doesn't work. I think the plot works so well because Bill not only has to give up Heather because she's an alien, because it serves the plot in a sci-fi sense and, defeating the baddie, the monster of the week, but because she's forced to recognise that they will never get together and that unrequited love is ultimately very stupid and silly, even though it's instinctive and we can all relate to it, we've all experienced it. But I found it very clever how Bill had to kind of reject Heather for those two reasons, both because she was the big bad monster of the week and the whole universe might have exploded or something if she hadn't, but also it was a very personal, intimate human decision and a very universal theme as well. So hopefully a lot of viewers will have been able to relate to that. I mean, I certainly could. The fact that it's a homosexual, lesbian desire feels quite modern and up to date, if I'm honest. I mean, is it PC? Well, perhaps a little bit. You never really know with these things. But it's not something that I mind, and I don't think it should really matter. We shouldn't make a massive fuss about Bill's sexuality, because it wasn't in your face, and it wasn't presented as a gimmick, really. I think Moffat wrote it quite well, and it's integrated into her character. It's part of her character. There's some interesting stuff about this on the fan show if you watch the after show they did, and he kind of explains that it came quite naturally as a decision, to have Bill fancy girls basically instead of boys. That's what he says. So yeah, I'm not massively fussed about it really. I suppose at the least it's very different from what we've seen before, like with Clara. I mean, I know Clara's meant to be bisexual. What was that all about? But anyway, yeah, it's nice to have a openly gay companion, I suppose, because that's different from a lot of the kind of heterosexual relationships we've seen in the past with Rose, or Donna, or Martha, or Clara, not to start with. As I've already mentioned, the climax, which in essence revolves around Bill being forced to give up her unrequited desire for Heather, was beautifully played out, I thought. Again, it's a very universal message, as I've said, but carefully embedded into a sci-fi context, and Doctor Who does that very well, doesn't it? It's a big part of Doctor Who's makeup, to take ideas and concepts and themes like that, issues in the modern world, human issues, and deal with them and kind of make a statement about them, really. On a side note, it was awesome to see the Daleks and Movellans again. Goodness me. I mean, they're only cameo appearances for each, but still very thrilling, very exciting, particularly for the Movellans, who haven't been seen for about 40 years, really. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, they were only cameo appearances, yes, but so what? For goodness sake. I don't think the scariness of either was diminished by the length of their appearances. They both served the plot well, they both did what they had to do, and of course the pilot isn't a story focused on the Dalek-Movellan War, so we were never going to get lots and lots of Daleks and Movellans in there. A thought that I have had is maybe Moffat decided to use the Movellans, perhaps because he's planning to bring them up later on in the series or in a future episode, because it is quite a lot of effort to go to, I suppose, to make them Movellans. I mean, it does say in Doctor Who magazine that it was Mark Gatiss' decision. Moffat was telling him that, there's going to be a Dalek war, and he said, why not make them Movellans? But in the back of my mind, I can't help but think, were those costumes made for a reason? Were they Movellans for a reason? Is there a specific reason that they are Movellans? And if so, are we going to see them again, perhaps, as part of the story arc for the series, or just later on? Nevertheless, it would be nice to see them again, because, obviously, while they are a little bit kind of, laughable, really, aren't they? But they're quite nostalgic, really, and a bit of an icon, I suppose, of the Tom Baker era. So yeah, it would be fantastic to see them again, either as a part of Moffat's final series, in the story arc or in a later episode, or if Chris Chibnall decides to use them again and, just say, what the hell, we're going to do another Movellan and Dalek story. I must just also say as well that I thought the directing in this story was absolutely phenomenal. The lecture scene and Bill's TARDIS entrance were real highlights for me, the latter of which I saw live as a preview clip on the Graham Norton show, and it just absolutely blew me away. I was so inspired by it because it was so different from what we've seen before and so fresh and exciting, just a whole different take on the concept of someone entering the TARDIS. Yeah, one that I didn't see coming at all. So that in particular really inspired me, I think, in a sort of creative way. So overall, Well, the pilot, for what it is an outstanding story, I think. Obviously, it's not going to be the best Doctor Who episode ever. It's designed as a pilot, so to speak, an introduction to the show, and of course the meaty stuff is still to come in the rest of the series. But I did think the plot was extremely solid, and thoroughly enjoyed how it all revolved around Bill and her relationships and desires and all the rest of it. It was a very refreshing Doctor Who episode, exactly what the show needed after a year hiatus, if you ask me. And just to mention the very exciting trailer at the end, one thing I have got to say about the trailer is, well, it was quite short to start with, the coming soon bit, although I did like how it was kind of merged together with the smile one, to give you kind of lots of bang, bang, bang moments. You know, here's next week, here's the next 10 weeks after that. That was handled well, I think. But there seems to be a lot of clips from episode 5 in it, like the Oxygen one. Well, it's called Oxygen, isn't it? With the Oxygen monsters, the spacesuits, the space station. It seems to be very episode 5 heavy, which was a bit strange. Apart from that, there wasn't anything too exciting, I don't think, too new. Apart from the, well, regeneration scene, seemingly what looks like Peter Capaldi regenerating. We'll have to see about that. I mean, it looks like it's in episode 8 or that mid-season 3-parter, because if you look closely, the soldiers in the background have the truth symbol kind of on their arms, as seen in the filming at Cardiff University. So maybe all these clips showing regeneration energy are just a massive ploy. You know, Moffat playing around with the idea that this is Capaldi's final season as the Doctor. But who knows, you know, John Sim is back as the Master, and then that's the other big surprise in this trailer. Well, not surprise, but the absolute highlight, really. But yeah, we've had that news, and I wasn't really expecting that, so yeah, who knows what's going to happen in the next 11 episodes and at Christmas. With all the rumours as well about Chris Marshall having been cast, there's a massive fuss going on about that at the moment on Twitter. I think he's trending, and so many tabloids are picking it up, even though it is just a rumour as far as we know. But there's a massive fuss about it, so if it doesn't turn out to be true, it'll be a little bit strange, I think. But yeah, who knows about the rest of Series 10 or beyond? We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. So thank you very much for watching this review. Please do let me know what you thought of the pilot in the comments below. Hopefully I'll be back next week if I can kind of keep up this weekly review schedule thing for a review of Smile. But otherwise, guys, again, just thank you so much for watching and listening to me ramble on about the pilot, and stick with me for more Series 10 reviews in the coming weeks. See you next week for my review of Smile.